In this team selection video, I'm going to explain why you should keep Sanchez even though he's lost his place, and I'm going to offer my advice on whether you should sell Haaland or not, depending on what situation you're in. Building from the back, I think it's worth starting Sanchez over Kepa. Let's face it, he's probably lost his place, but there is a small chance that it was a one-off because he's not performing well on the pitch, or he might not be trying hard enough in training. It could be a disciplinary like Rashford got, except when Rashford came out and told the interviewer. I'm pretty sure Sanchez wasn't interviewed after the match, and if he was, he might not have wanted to say anyway. Either way, that's not the reason why I think you should keep him. You've got to consider your options that you've got available. You could go straight for Steele. It'd be great if Steele kept his place, but there's still a decent chance that Sanchez keeps his place or he gets it back sometime soon. De Zerbi has shown that he's alright swapping goalkeepers. There's no reason why he won't do that again. I think both Brighton goalkeepers are risky, so I don't think it's worth spending a free transfer on either of them. If I was to make the goalkeeper transfer, it would be Raya. He's only 4.8 mil. He's got a double in game week 27 and in game week 29, but I believe there's a better option if you're patient. This wouldn't work if you've not got a backup playing goalkeeper, but I'm assuming that you have at this stage in the season. You're better off starting Sanchez this game week. There's a small chance you get a double. If not, you still got one fixture, and then in double game week 29, you make the goalkeeper decision. I understand that in the short term, you lose a game if it goes wrong for your goalkeeper, but in double game week 29, you pick a goalkeeper that not only doubles in that game week, but doubles twice after that game week, and you actually gain a fixture rather than getting Raya this game week. The reason I'm saying you gain a fixture is because Raya doesn't double after game week 29, and a couple of goalkeepers do double after game week 29 twice, which means, yeah, you lose a fixture, but then you gain two after that in the long term. There are also goalkeepers that play for better defences than Brentford that might not double in game week 27, but they do double after game week 29 and in game week 29, so you still get those two doubles anyway like you would with Raya. Hopefully I've explained that well for you. If there's anything you're confused about, just leave a comment in the comment section down below and I will get back to you. Now we can finally move away from the goalkeeper position. In defence, I've got the defensive double up of me and Henry from Brentford. For those of you who haven't wildcarded, if you've still got a City defender like Ake or Akanji, I think it's worth selling them for a Brentford defender. Personally, I think Henry's the best option because I think he'll offer more going forward and he's cheaper than me as well. Pinnock is also a decent option too. He scored last game week, but I still prefer Henry. I'd make that transfer because Brentford have got 5 fixtures in 3 game weeks while City have only got 2. My last starting defender is Trippier. He's got Wolves at home, a nice easy fixture, and he's a player with a high ceiling because he's got 3 outputs to points through goals, assists and clean sheets. Unfortunately, that means that I've had to bench Gabriel against Fulham away and Botman against Wolves at home. It wasn't a benching headache because if you look at my 3 starting defenders, neither of these two get over them. I do favour Newcastle slightly more than Arsenal for a clean sheet. However, Gabriel's got much more attacking threat than Botman, therefore I think his ceiling is higher. These 2 single game week players look decent for a bench boost, but I've got a goalkeeper who might not even play. Then I've also got Maddison who faces Chelsea as well. I'm still pretty set on the double game week 29 bench boost. I'll have 14 doublers and Gabriel. I think it's worth keeping him for the long run. That's because I've got 2 Brentford defenders and 2 Newcastle ones. It's going to be difficult to rotate the fixtures. Of course I can play Trippier near enough every game week because of his attacking output. Then Gabriel will probably play most game weeks. Then I have the option between a Newcastle or Brentford defender. And if I was to get a double game week player, it would be difficult to get a player that I'd want to keep after that that's not Gabriel. To be honest with you, I'd rather sell one of my other ones. Moving on to midfield, I've got a Brighton double up of March and McAllister. They've got decent fixtures against Leeds away and Palace at home. I'm really happy with the McAllister pick because he's playing so far up the pitch, plus he's got the penalty duty advantage with other set pieces as well. Last game week it was March versus Matoma. Obviously Matoma got the points and March didn't, but that would be a small sample size to go off and recency bias if I was to change my mind. I'm still happy with March with the research that I carried out. Either way it didn't matter. I was always going to bench that player last game week, so Matoma's points would have been stuck on the bench anyway. To be honest, there's barely anything that splits March, Matoma and McAllister, so I think they're all in the running for captaincy this game week along with Tony. Next up in midfield is Rashford. He's got a nice easy fixture against Southampton at home. Yeah, it's a single game week fixture, but he could get a haul in that one. Typically, there's plenty of easy fixtures for the single game week players this game week. United face Southampton at home, Arsenal face Fulham away, City face Palace away, and Spurs are up against Forest at home. I do fancy Salah against Bournemouth this game week, but that would be a luxury transfer that I don't think it's worth spending. It will probably result in a hit in future because you'll need those valuable free transfers. I'd rather have a double game week player, and he blanks next game week. I'd rather have a player that plays next game week as well. If you already own Salah, I'd keep him this game week, then sell him ahead of blank game week 28, unless you've got a slot on the bench in those 3 slots, but I highly doubt it with the Brighton players and Rashford. Alternatively, I do have Saka against Fulham away, who does play in blank game week 28. He will be sold for a player which will probably be Bruno Fernandes because of the upcoming doubles. Maddison will stay in the team because he's one of the best midfielders for blank game week 28 and double game week 29. Of course, the Brighton players get to stay, and I think it's worth keeping Rashford as well. Rashford, of course, gets a slot on the bench in blank game week 28 when he's not got a fixture. Yes, Saka plays in that one, but he doesn't double in game week 29, and Rashford does. That's why I'm keeping Rashford. Up front is Toney against Everton and Southampton. They're both away from home, but they're still easy fixtures. I wouldn't say any player's essential in FPL, but at the minute it's as close as you're going to get. He's got 5 fixtures in 3 game weeks. You can't even say that about the Brighton players because they've got 4. He's a captaincy contender this game week. He's probably going to score the most FPL points over the course of the next 3 game weeks. As for Haaland against Palace away, if you've not got Toney, I think it's worth selling him. If you have got Toney, I think it's worth keeping him for 1 more game week. Like I mentioned earlier, City have only got 2 fixtures in the space of 3 game weeks. I'll be keeping him this game week, but ahead of blank game week 28, I will be selling him because he blanks and he doesn't double in game week 29, but I probably will bring him back in game week 30. Before I reveal the last player, I'm not going to reveal captaincy in this video. That's because it will spoil the best captain video if you've not already watched it. I've got all the data analysis in there and the player that I've concluded with the best captain. It's really close between the Brighton midfielders and Toney. I strongly advise you check it out. The final piece to the puzzle is Kane with a nice easy fixture against Forest at home. I will be keeping him this game week and in blank game week 28 where he plays. Then I'll be selling him ahead of double game week 29 for a player that's got 2 fixtures, whilst he's only got 1. If you're finding these videos informative, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of them.